President Trump addressed all of that today. He tweeted, "We will never let the great U.S. oil and gas industry down." He says he's instructed the Secretary of Energy and of the Treasury to formulate a plan that'll make funds available to these companies. Bob Iaccino, I think we've got you back now. So we're talking about a potential bailout then of the energy industry. Is that going to be needed? Is that even going to do the job? I mean, if we continue to see persistently low oil prices, how long is they going to need to be infused with capital?
Yeah, good afternoon, Julie. No, it's not going to do the job from a perspective of saving the actual industry. Simply, I liken it to if you've ever tried to sell one of those old tube TV armoires and you can't even give the thing away. You actually have to pay somebody to take it out and somehow junk it. I think almost everybody that is speaking right now remembers those things. That's what crude oil is currently when there is no demand. You can't get rid of these things. So there's no storage for it, as Jared mentioned. There's nowhere to put it, and it's a darn biohazard. So it's not like you can even store it in mason jars somewhere for that long, waiting for the demand to come back. So the question becomes, how much of this demand destruction is permanent? Anecdotally, I know a lot of people that are thinking they can do without their car, they can do without their trips and things like that. And there's an entire generation of people that are going to be changed by this experience. So I keep looking at it as a perspective that crude oil is not going to be a zero and it's not going to be negative. But there was a period from 1986 to about 2001 where crude oil prices were basically in a range between about $9.50 a barrel to about, let's say, $23 a barrel. That's where I think we're at again, even though as you look out the crude curve, you're seeing $31 in January.
Bob, it's Adam, and it's good to see you. I was curious about the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. Does the U.S. have the capacity to dry up all of this excess from U.S. producers? And where is the actual reserve? Is it in salt mines, they inject it into the ground, or is it storage tanks?
It's in both. It's in three different places, and it has a capacity. And we've got only about enough for about 94 million barrels to go into it. President Trump was looking for Congress to allocate funds to fill it to the top, as he said, of course, saying he was going to do something before he could. That's become pretty common. So from a perspective of whether we can fill it again, I think we should. But the Strategic Petroleum Reserve needs to sell barrels every once in a while because there's only so much you can do to crude oil chemically to make it last. To keep it viable. It only lasts about 18 to 21 months, even chemically treated. So there's only so much you can do, again, with crude oil. The Congress had already talked about, they had actually allocated the selling of about 33 million barrels from now to about 2025 to fill budget shortfalls, which now that's not going to work either. So I don't know if that's going to continue to happen. There's just a lot of moving parts to this. Adam, and I think you ask a really good point with that. The Strategic Petroleum Reserve should be a place where the flexibility is on both sides. Too much demand and not enough supply. It's not really effective for that right now.
Hey, Bob, and just thinking about Brent pivoting here, when you look at the oil futures there, I know that they're set to expire, or the June contract is set to expire next week. Do you anticipate that we can see negative pricing there?
I think that, Melody, depends quite a bit on what the administration does as their rescue for U.S. crude oil. If all of a sudden they ban the import of Brent crude to the U.S., it becomes a lot more difficult to keep Brent positive in the short term as well, because the production cuts haven't started yet. And I think that's probably the sort of Wile E. Coyote anvil that's being held above Saudi Arabia and OPEC from a perspective of, look, you need to cut more than you said, and you need to cut it now. We're just going to ban your exports and drive your price to negative as well.
Bob, it's good to see you. Stay well. Bob Iaccino joining us from Chicago there of Path Trading Partners to help walk us through the oil situation.
Hey investors, Zach Guzman here. Are you interested in learning more about the markets and getting the latest financial news? Well, then click right here to subscribe to our Yahoo Finance YouTube channel. Get the latest up-to-the-minute market analysis, big interviews in the world of finance, and information on how to manage your money every day wherever you are.